My girlfriend admitted she cheated on me. I needed a real man, she said with a smirk. All my friends sided with her, but I just smiled, grabbed my keys, and left. That morning, my phone showed 32 missed calls. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs that had been scattered throughout the last few months of our 3-year relationship. I always tried to trust her and give her the benefit of the doubt. It all started with small changes. Allison began working late more often, which didn't seem strange during busy times. But then I noticed a new perfume I didn't recognize, clothes in our closet that weren't ours before, and her phone. She always kept it very close. I'm not the jealous type, but something just felt wrong. She would pull away when I tried to hug her while she was texting. Claim work was calling every time her phone rang, and she started going on girls' nights with people I'd never heard of. Last Tuesday, while I was folding laundry, her phone lit up on the table. I saw a preview from someone called Jay saying, "Miss you already." My stomach sank. I didn't want to be that guy who snoops, but it felt like the universe was telling me the truth. That night when she got home, I decided to ask directly. She was in the kitchen making a smoothie as if nothing was wrong. With the sound of the blender in the background, I leaned in and asked, "Who's Jay?" When she finally answered, her posture stiffened, and then she smiled, a cold, almost triumphant smile. "Wondering when you'd catch on, Michael? Jay is my boss, and yes, I've been sleeping with him for the past 2 months," she said casually, as if confessing something normal. I needed a real man, someone who knows what he wants and makes a move. Not a guy who spends his weekends playing video games with Jacob and watching silly movies. I stood there trying to process her words. 3 years together, and this was how she really saw me. Even though I was shocked, I felt a strange clarity. I asked, "Does Chloe know?" "She was our mutual friend who introduced us." Allison laughed and said, "Oh, she's known for weeks. Most of our friends already knew, and they believed Jay could offer a secure future, unlike me." I opened my group chat with Jacob and Chloe and asked, "Is this true? You all knew?" Jacob quickly replied, "Bro, you're a great guy, but Allison deserves someone more established. Don't take it personally." Chloe added, "We didn't want to hurt you, but maybe this is the wake-up call you need." When I looked up, Allison was watching me with that same smirking look, clearly expecting a big scene. Instead, I smiled genuinely. Silently, I went to our bedroom, grabbed my prepared travel bag. I always keep one ready for weekend trips, took my laptop and keys, and headed for the door. As I passed the kitchen again, Allison asked, "Where are you going?" I replied simply, "Out." I added, "And Allison, you can keep the apartment, I'm sure Jay can handle the rent." She began to protest, but I closed the door before she could finish. Soon, messages from so-called friends were buzzing my phone. While driving away, I turned off my phone and felt an unexpected relief. Sometimes, losing everything shows you what you never truly had. I didn't know where I was heading, but for the first time in months, I felt like I was moving in the right direction. Update 1. Thanks for all the support on my last post, it really blew up. A lot has happened this past week and I'm still trying to process it all. I've been staying in a small, clean motel on the edge of town. The owner, an older man named Pete, even gave me a $20 discount on the weekly rate. After 2 days without my phone, I finally turned it back on and saw 32 missed calls, 47 text messages, mostly from Allison, a few from Jacob and Chloe, and some unknown numbers. The biggest surprise came from social media. Allison had posted an Instagram story painting me as a controlling, jealous boyfriend who watched her every move. According to her, I emotionally manipulated her, isolated her from her friends, and even threw a violent tantrum when she stood up for herself. Her posts got hundreds of supportive comments, even from people I thought were my friends. Her top post was a tearful video claiming I had financially abused her by making her split our bills 50-50, while I supposedly kept all my money, even though she earned more than me, and insisted on it herself. Then a text came from Gemma, a coworker I've known for years, saying, "Hey, you might want to check your email. Something's going around the office about you." Sure enough, there was an email to everyone about keeping the workplace safe, hinting at concerning behavior from a few employees. No names were mentioned, but the timing was telling. I should have been angry and fought back, but instead I was more curious, just how far would Allison go? And it turned out, pretty far. Yesterday, I went to the local coffee shop I thought was safe since Allison hated their coffee. I was wrong. The barista gave me a look like I was something unpleasant. Later, I found out Allison had become a regular there, sharing her version of events with anyone who would listen. At a storage unit while picking up some clothes, I ran into Juliana, Allison's so-called best friend. She looked nervous and kept glancing around. "You need to be careful," she whispered. "Jay isn't just her boss. His wife is very connected. And Allison has been saying you're unstable and even dangerous." I asked, "Why are you telling me this?" Juliana replied, "Because this isn't the first time. Before you, another guy at work went through the same thing. He ended up leaving town." That conversation changed everything for me. I spent the night checking legal records and social media. I discovered that the other guy, Mark, had completely disappeared online around the time Allison started working at the company. This morning, our landlord called me. Allison had tried to remove my name from the lease by claiming I abandoned the property. When that didn't work, she accused me of threatening her. The landlord called to warn me. He had been through a similar situation with his sister years ago. Then came the strangest part. I received an Instagram message from an unknown account. The profile showed an elegant woman in her 40s with expensive jewelry, and her message said, "I believe we need to talk about my husband and your girlfriend. Coffee tomorrow." It was signed Mrs. J. I'm meeting her in an hour. And something tells me that Allison's idea of a real man is going to get a lot more complicated. Watching Allison spin all these lies and seeing our friends take her side feels strangely freeing. Every nasty post, every fake tear, and every manipulated story only proves what I already suspected. I'm not losing anything that was worth keeping. Update 2. Sorry for the delay. The last 2 weeks have been chaotic. The meeting with Mrs. J over coffee was a turning point. She had been collecting evidence for months, not just about Allison and her husband, but about a whole pattern of behavior at the company. Remember the guy Juliana mentioned who left town? He wasn't the first. Mrs. J had proof of at least 3 similar cases over the past 5 years. Younger employees got involved with her husband and then were pushed out once they couldn't be silenced. This time, Mrs. J wasn't going to stay quiet. She had texts, emails, expense reports, and even security footage from the company parking lot. She wanted one final public exposure at the annual company party. I hadn't planned on attending the party, but Mrs. J convinced me. It was held at a fancy hotel downtown. I arrived late and dressed better than ever. People stared when I walked in. Allison nearly dropped her drink, and Jay's face went pale. What was amazing was that I didn't have to do anything. Chloe, clearly drunk, stumbled over and said, "You've got some nerve showing up here after everything you did to Allison." I replied with a calm smile, "Everything I did? That's interesting. Tell me more." Then Gemma, my coworker, spoke up. She had been secretly collecting her own evidence, screenshots of Allison bragging in work chats and recordings of her planning how to spin the story with Jay. Gemma announced, "I think we'd all like to hear the real story." What followed was like watching dominoes fall. Mrs. J arrived with her tablet, and suddenly a slideshow of incriminating messages and photos played on the projector, showing Allison's desperate attempts to control her story. The real highlight was when Jacob joked on video, "Good old bros before hoes." Except when the hoe might boost my career. While recording everything on his phone, he planned to show the video to Jay to prove his loyalty, but ended up capturing Allison's complete meltdown instead. "You think you're so clever," Allison screamed at me. "You, along with that bitter old woman trying to ruin everything I built. Jay loves me, we're going to have a life together." Then Mrs. J revealed the final piece, divorce papers that had already been filed. It turned out Jay had been making the same promises to Allison as he had to other employees. The best part? I barely said a word. I just watched as her lies and manipulations fell apart. Juliana finally admitted, "I helped her destroy that other guy's reputation. I can't do it again." By midnight, the party was over. Allison stormed out in tears. Jay was locked in his office with HR, and my friends, who once supported her, couldn't face me anymore. Mrs. J thanked me, saying, "Thank you for being the one who didn't run." I drove home to my motel feeling strangely peaceful. Pete was still up, watching late-night TV in the office, and he simply said, "Good night." The next morning, my phone blew up again, but this time it was filled with apologies, explanations, and people saying they never really believed Allison's version. I even received a message from Mark, the guy who left town, who had been following everything through mutual connections. Sometimes, karma doesn't need us to fix it. It just happens. Final update. This is the final chapter of the saga. Grab some popcorn, because things have escalated. Within 48 hours after the company party, both Jay and Allison were forced to resign. But that wasn't the end. Mrs. J had more evidence than expected. Expense reports Jay had faked to cover his dinners with Allison, emails where they planned against colleagues, and performance reviews that Allison manipulated. The company's legal team moved very quickly. They were not just concerned about the affair, but also about workplace harassment and financial misconduct. Now, both Jay and Allison face civil lawsuits. Remember Mark, the guy who left town? He returned with hard evidence. He had recorded everything, including the smear campaign that Allison and Jay ran against him, which he had documented before disappearing online. Mrs. Jay introduced him to her lawyer, and within days, he filed his own lawsuit. After that, more former employees came forward with their own stories and evidence. What started as one scandal quickly turned into a huge avalanche. Allison tried to control the narrative by posting a tearful video claiming she was the true victim, manipulated by Jay and now persecuted. That's when Juliana finally spoke up publicly, posting screenshots of private chats where Allison bragged about her conquests and planned attacks on others. Last week, Allison came to my motel. Pete called me from work. Warning, that girl you mentioned, she's causing a scene in the parking lot. I drove back and found her sitting on the hood of my car, tears mixing with her mascara, clutching a manila envelope. I have dirt on everyone, she threatened, and if you don't help me stop this, I'll release everything. I just laughed and said, go ahead, burn every bridge you have left. Let's see how that works out. She threw the envelope at me. Inside were photos, screenshots, and private messages, evidence from years of manipulation she had gathered. I took photos of every page while she watched, then handed the envelope back and said, release whatever you want, but look at what your schemes have already done. People like Allison can't handle it when their weapons are turned against them. She tore up the envelope right there in the parking lot, screaming that we'd all regret her actions. Someone recorded the moment, and soon it was all over social media. The final blow came yesterday. Mrs. Jay's divorce was finalized, and she got everything, the house, the cars, and most assets. Jay's golden parachute from the company went to his legal fees, and his reputation was ruined. He won't be working in the industry anymore. As for Allison, the latest word is that she's moving back in with her parents in another state, and her social media has vanished. Those friends who once supported her now face consequences of their own, as backing the wrong person always has its price. Jacob tried to apologize with a long message, saying he should have been a better friend, but I responded by sending him a screenshot of his earlier messages supporting Allison. He blocked me. Chloe is also busy with damage control, worried that screenshots from Allison might hurt her career. I almost feel sorry, almost. I just signed a lease on a new apartment and got a promotion at work. It's amazing how life improves when you remove toxic people. And yes, I'm dating someone new, taking it slow and doing it right. The best revenge isn't about scheming or plotting. It's about living well and letting toxic people ruin themselves. But I won't pretend, watching everything fall apart has been strangely satisfying. This is my final update. Thanks for following along with this crazy ride. Sometimes, karma doesn't need our help, it just shows everyone's true colors.